Okay, hey everybody, I'm Ben Yee. I'm the Secretary of the Manhattan Democratic Party and the Democratic State Committeeman for the 66th Assembly District.
I'm Alyssa Stein, and I am now officially an elected member of the County Committee.
Ooh, congratulations. When did that
much.
happen?
It happened on Tuesday in the primary, where not enough people came out to vote.
Not by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But we're not here to talk about that today. Today we're talking about a bunch of other really important, I guess, insider political
Insider things that are happening this weekend. Who knew that so much could happen in local politics so quickly after an election with so few people aware that these things were going on?
I sure didn't, which is why my weekend is now more of a work day than any day last week, but whatever.
But we're here to tell you all the things that are happening that you did not know about before, but you should know about now.
Let's do it. What do we have first?
First off is the County Committee election of a nominee to fill the vacancy in Assembly District 71.
Ah, yes. Okay, so that actually happened. So we're filming this on Saturday, the 16th of September. That actually happened this morning. I woke up to go do that and be secretary there. So essentially, Denny Farrell, who was the assemblyman for a super long time in Assembly District 71 in Harlem, has retired. And because it's the middle of his term, Assembly isn't elected until 2018, we're going to vote on a new assembly member in what's essentially a special election in November. So we need a Democratic nominee for that election. There's no primary. So the county committee convened all the members who live inside of the 71st Assembly District, and they selected somebody to be that Democrat, who will then very likely go on to win the election.
Okay, so here's a question.
Shoot.
Because I know that there are several of these going on right now.
Oh yeah.
How does somebody get to be the person that can be nominated?
So, actually, it's completely open in theory, as long as you have somebody on the county committee who's willing to stand up and say, I nominate this person.
So it can happen real time on that floor?
It can happen real time. You can nominate from the floor. You just need a county committee member to nominate you and then second you. Now, in reality, the folks who know who the county committee members are, because this list isn't really published anywhere, or it's not necessarily easy to find out who these people are. These are people who are already ingrained in politics in the community. So the winner of the election was Al Taylor. He was actually unopposed in this particular instance. His name's Al Taylor. He's a district leader and a state committee member for Harlem, and he's worked in Denny Farrell's office for many years. And that's, again, the outgoing assembly member.
So it's almost like an insider.
Oh, county committee is pretty
Well, here's
insider.
an interesting thing for my 3 days as a county committee member, and this is something that maybe can change. At this point, county committee, unless you're an opposed election, is not on the ballot.
Right.
So that nobody knows that you're running.
Yep.
And then the names of the people who win aren't published anywhere either, so nobody knows that you've got the job.
Right.
So basically, it's a position with not really any responsibility except in these special election cases.
A lot of responsibility, not a ton of accountability, is probably how I'd put it.
And also, zero recognition.
Yes.
So
well,
to me, it seems the point of a county committee member, in a throwback to the olden days of ward bosses and block captains, would be somebody that very local people would go to with concerns and issues. But right now, county committee is a complete secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a complete secret. It's more secret in other places than it is here, but it could be more. It could be less secret.
Right. It's feeling pretty secretive to me, in that nobody knew I ran, and then nobody knew that I won, except for my Facebook friends. Thank you all for the congratulations. So I think going forward, that could be something that could be addressed, where perhaps there was a way county committee could serve the population better if people knew that we were out there and we're there to help.
Definitely a reform to look into.
All right.
You've got a lot to do.
We do.
All right. So what's the next?
Our second thing.
Speaking of a lot to do, we got a lot of
and
questions
this is
to answer.
Another even bigger election that's coming up. There's a county committee selection of a nominee to fill the vacancy in the state Senate seat for District 26. It was formerly held by Daniel Squadron.
That's right.
He left this open hole, and so now.
And now we have to. So that's the exact same process as we experienced this morning, and that we just spoke about with the 71st Assembly District. The only difference is the location, so it's in Lower Manhattan instead of in Harlem, and the Assembly districts are smaller than state Senate districts. So state Assembly members represent about 150, 160,000 people. That means those county committee elections have roughly 200 folks in them. A state Senate election, or a state Senate district rather, covers about 300,000 people, and that means there's about 400 county committee
wow.
members who are going to show
Now,
up tomorrow.
for a bigger job like a state senate,
Yep.
are they just sort of nominating one person to put through, or is there a field of people that they're nominating? Is that different in any way, and how does that work?
So the process is technically the same, and it was sort of anomalous that we only had one candidate really uptown.
Gotcha, okay.
There are likely to be between 4 and 6 candidates tomorrow, Sunday the 17th, which is when we're doing the Daniel Squadron seat.
And how do they get to be a nominee?
Now, same process really. You have to have somebody on the county committee nominate you, and in order to be in with county committee members, you basically have to have been around the community for a while. So we've got Paul Newell running, he's a district leader. Alan Gersten, who's a former city council member. Who else do we have? Some woman in Brooklyn who's an attorney, but I forget her name. I'm bad. But
It's okay, we can Google it, I'm
yeah.
sure.
Anyway, the long story short, these are mainly people who are familiar with this particular process and with the county party structure.
Got it.
Now, there is one thing I'll say about the election, or the seat election tomorrow, which is particularly special, which is it covers 2 counties. And because it covers 2 counties, it is perfectly legal for the county leaders to determine who gets the seat without consulting the county committees. So the process by which this will happen tomorrow is really up to the county leaders.
Interesting.
The county leader of Brooklyn, Frank Sedio, has already said he doesn't want his county committee convening with the Manhattan County Committee. They have different rules as well, but they will probably vote as a block, and they'll have 35% of the vote. And Manhattan then will have their election tomorrow. And depending on how that goes down, even though Manhattan has 65% of the vote in that election, if they split their votes among the multiple,
then it goes to Brooklyn.
Yeah. So we're going to see how it plays out, and we'll actually see which rules Manhattan decides to use tomorrow.
Interesting. Local politics is messy.
It's certainly complicated.
It's I've learned in the past few days how complicated it is. Okay, then there's another election.
Yeah.
County committee selection for the female district leader to fill a vacancy in 66 Assembly District Part A.
Yeah, so we've discussed district leaders, I think, before, but essentially they are representatives of your community to the Democratic County Committee. They're basically the Senate, whereas county committee members are like the House.
Ooh, that's a really good analogy.
Yeah.
There also always needs to be a male and a female.
Correct.
in
So
each
every
district.
Assembly District part in Manhattan gets 2 representatives, a male and a female, and they also comprise the executive board of the county committee. So we have a vacancy here in the 66th Assembly District, Part A, and because it's an internal party position, there won't be a general election for this. So whatever the county committee decides tomorrow on Sunday, that's who the female
That's
district
it.
leader will be.
And again, somebody can just nominate another person off the floor.
Yes, correct. A county committee member can.
Okay, so there is power. in
Oh, there's a
county
lot
committee.
of power
You can
when it
nominate.
comes up.
You can nominate.
And
Okay,
you get to
good
vote.
to know. And you get to vote.
And you can change the rules. You can, offer amendments to the rules, offer amendments to the people who are allowed to vote.
Okay, all these things will be taken under consideration by the new super enthusiastic county committee
Oh, it's going to be a
members
great
out
meeting. I wish it weren't at the same time as the state meeting because I probably won't get to go. But whatever.
But hopefully there'll be plenty more of these. All right, then there's another thing that's not happening this weekend. The Judicial Convention to select nominees to fill open Supreme Court vacancies. Now,
Yes.
this is something I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
So if you could explain that, because I know we were all voting for judicial delegates.
We were.
At the people who went to the primaries and were voting for judicial delegates and alternate judicial delegates.
It's
and probably
super
had no
poorly
idea
known
what that
about.
meant.
Yeah.
Right. So can you explain a little bit about what is, but
Yeah.
succinctly?
Absolutely. So under New York state law, we don't have primaries. Well, we elect our civil court and Supreme Court judges. For Supreme Court judges in particular, which is all I'm going to talk about right now, there is no primary election. Okay? The way that we determine who will represent a party, be it the Democrats, the Republicans, or the Green Party, is not to have a primary, but to have a judicial convention. And this is under, again, New York state law. So in the primary, when you elect your county committee members, when you elect your district leaders, you're also electing your judicial delegates. And these people go to the judicial convention to decide who will get to be the nominee of the Democratic Party in the Supreme Court election.
Got it. So when you go to the regular election in November,
Yeah.
and you see a Democratic candidate and a Republican candidate, they come from this judicial convention.
That is correct.
And that's like winnowing away
Yes.
until we have our delegate that we send to the general election.
That's right. Exactly right.
Yes. All right. I do understand.
And in Manhattan, we have a particularly special process. There's a little bit of wind. I have so much hair right now. I need a haircut. We have a whatever. We have a special process here in Manhattan to prevent abuse of power by district leaders and club leaders and such, so that to ensure that we have candidates who would make good judges, we have an independent screening panel. And the way this works is the county party, you elect folks to the county party. The county party then invites a bunch of organizations, bar associations, law firms, academics, to send one representative to a screening panel. For every vacancy on the court, they are allowed to pass through up to three candidates. So lawyers will apply to be a judge. They'll be vetted by the screening panel. The folks in the county party don't know who's going to be on the screening panel or how they're going to vote. They only know who was invited to send a panelist. And then of the three qualified candidates, the judicial delegates get to select one. In other places it works differently, where there is no screening panel and it just goes right to the judicial delegates who are
So here's a question,
working
Ben.
with politicians. Yeah.
Is there a handbook out there that explains this to everyone? Because this gets
There's a
very
video, and this is
detailed
it.
and confusing.
Yeah.
Right. But
I have
how
a
did
slide.
Right, and I learned all these things with a little less specificity than right now at Ben Yee's amazing workshops. But how did you find this information out? And the people who are running these things, like how did they get this information to make sure that it happens the way that it's supposed to happen?
I feel like that's a whole other video, but long story short, I joined the county committee and I went to all their meetings and I asked a lot of questions. And eventually I got my hands on a copy of the rules.
So there is a copy of the rules somewhere.
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, the party has rules. The judicial convention stuff is actually in the state constitution, so you can go read that there.
Okay.
The other
For
stuff we were
anybody who
talking about is in the
wanted to.
rules.
And
Yeah.
I don't know that there are going to be that many people.
Constitution's online. It's a beautiful text document.
And that's a conversation for another day, the
Yeah.
Constitutional Convention.
Oh, go Volt.
I
Yeah.
know. But so
Yeah.
we still have one more meeting that we have to talk about. And this is the county committee organizing meeting to elect county party leadership.
Yes.
Ooh, what is that?
So, the leadership of the county committee is elected by the county committee members. And so all that is the biennial meeting. It's once every 2 years, where all the folks who are elected to the county committee get to show up and vote for who should be the chair, who should be the vice chairs, who should be the secretary.
So this is a borough-wide meeting?
Correct.
So where do they hold all those people?
Actually,
rent out the garden?
We're looking for a space right now, even though the date is set for Monday. If anybody knows of a
Monday the
venue,
25th, not
Monday the
Monday
20,
at
right?
Tuesdays.
Monday the 25th. So in between now and then, if you have a cheap or free venue that will hold 600 people, please get in contact with me, ben@benjaminyee.com. We'd really love to hear from you.
That's what this all was, wasn't it? It was just a plug for a free venue for that meeting.
Yeah, because I really think people are going to wait 13 minutes to hear that. Wait, there's one more meeting that I wanted to point out, which is actually tonight, which is the executive board meeting to select the county leader. So when we
And the county leader is what?
So when we were talking before about that inter-county selection of a state senator, and I said, oh, the county leaders actually have the right to pick.
Right.
That's the county leader. The county leader exercises all of the authority of the county Democratic Party when the county committee and executive board aren't in session. And the county committee often meets, well, we want to,
Up it, but right now it's once every 2 years.
Right.
2-year term and you have one meeting. Low-hanging fruit.
Right, exactly. The executive board meets a little bit more often, maybe once a month, but essentially the county leader runs everything and makes all the political decisions when they're not in session. So they're an incredibly important and powerful person.
And how does one get to run for that?
Well, according to the party bylaws, you have to be a district leader, but then there's a meeting of the district leaders after the primary. Again, we're having one tonight. Primary was last Tuesday, and now it's Saturday. And the district leaders will convene and select from amongst themselves who they think is the best person to essentially administer the county
Right,
party.
that sounds like that could be a really contentious meeting.
Yeah, but it usually isn't. Usually these things go a certain way. Incumbents win a lot.
Yeah.
People who are current elected officials or former elected officials to government positions are often deemed good candidates. And so we're very likely to see the re-election of our current county leader, Keith Wright, who was the assemblyman, I forget which district, but up in Harlem.
Okay. All right. So we have covered all the meetings that are happening in the next week and a half.
Yes,
In local
absolutely.
politics.
Before September at least. But I had a question for you, actually. You went to a meeting.
I did.
And it was to count absentee ballots
Absentee and
for
affidavit
city council
votes.
race.
Yeah. So the city council race in District 1 is too close to call currently. And it's between Margaret Chin and Chris Marte.
Yes.
They're about 200 votes apart right now.
Jiminy Jillikers.
I know.
Every vote counts, apparently.
Every vote counts. So what they're doing now is they put the votes, the affidavit and the absentee ballots in front of the Board of Elections to see what were valid and what weren't valid. And then they ask people to come in today and go through the files as well.
Just regular people. Anybody could do this?
Anybody who wants to go and sit for 3 hours in an office in Chinatown.
Oh, yeah.
And go through paper ballots and see which were valid, which weren't valid, if the Board of Election caught all the mistakes and problems, or if something else came up that they hadn't caught. So it was just another set of eyes going through this. What was surprising to me was how many people tried to vote in this primary who shouldn't have been voting in this primary.
Really?
Yes. Republicans,
Huh.
independents, people who hadn't registered at all,
Right.
people who lived in other boroughs.
For those who don't know, in New York State, we don't allow people to vote in a primary unless they're registered with that political party. So independents are
Right.
out of
So
luck.
just feeling in your heart of hearts that you're a Democrat, if you're
Or that you should be allowed to vote in the primary.
right. But if you're not registered as a Democrat, your vote is going to be thrown in the garbage. And so it was a really interesting thing today to go through the stacks of paper and realize how many people didn't realize what they were registered for, or they weren't registered at all, or had moved and hadn't changed their paperwork.
Good God.
I would also stress that going forward, anybody who votes in any election, write legibly, because it could be that somebody is going through these paper ballots and can't tell what your signature is or what your name is. And if it gets to the point where somebody can't figure out who you are, your vote is garbage.
Huh.
So, little known thing that some of those things were so unintelligible
So in your
that the
view-
vote wasn't going to count.
In your view as an observer, how'd the BOE do?
The BOE did a really good job, and I heard through the grapevine that they did a better job than they had done in the past, but there were notes on every file about what the person was or why their vote was or wasn't counting.
Yep.
And then there was this next process, and then on Monday they're going to go into the Board of Elections again.
Killer.
And they're going to have lawyers for both sides there, and representatives from the two candidates' parties, and they're going to fight for votes.
So any sense on who's got more votes out of these ballots?
I was down to 200, separating them. Margaret Chin was 200 ahead, but both sides are really recognizing this is a very close, down to the wire thing. And then you never know with these absentee and affidavits how things will fall out. So a lot of, there are piles and piles of paperwork and also a lot of votes that won't count.
Indeed.
So maybe Monday we'll see, or maybe not, because I can see that this is going to be a painstaking process.
Fascinating.
But it was local elections, which was really having this exciting, nail-biting finish.
Well, that's democracy for you.
Yeah, fun to be a part of.
All right, well, I guess we've really talked for a long time now.
We did.
But it
Hope
was
that
all
you're
good
still
stuff.
with us. Hope that you're still here, because it was important things, but next time we'll work on shorter.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just so much going on this month is all.
So much going on today.
Today and tomorrow. I got a long weekend.
You do.
Anyway, I don't want to make your weekend long, though, so we're going to sign off now.
Until next time.
Until next time.